So is this cheapie worth picking up, especially since it's recently been discontinued? You can find it for an absolute steal. Let's review it and find out. What's going on? Hunter here and welcome back to my channel. And if you are new, what I do is I make fragrance related content. So if you love fragrances, hit that subscribe button down below and also make sure to follow my fragrance Instagram page. But today we're reviewing one of the classics from Mont Blanc and probably one of the most hyped up fragrances within the house, especially from like fragrance reviewers like Jeremy Fragrance. Hype this fragrance to the max. So we're gonna review it and find out if it's actually worth that hype, especially still nowadays, and see if it's actually outdated, and just go over the fragrance in general because I found this fragrance, like I said, for an absolute steal. I actually got this 50 ml bottle at TJ Maxx for $12. So I was like, why not? Why wouldn't I pick it up, especially since it's discontinued, just to add to the collection. If I like it or even if I don't like it, it doesn't really matter. But let's go over some information about Mont Blanc's Individuel now. So the release date was 2003. So like I said, it has been around for almost 20 years at the time of this recording. It is discontinued, so as far as the retail price, I'm not sure, but you can pick these up for $20 or even less than 20 bucks at your local rack stores, which is just an absolute steal. Concentration is an eau de toilette, and the perfumer behind this one, which is very controversial, is Pierre Bourdon. If you are not familiar with Pierre Bourdon, he was the perfumer for a lot of the Creeds, which this does get compared to Original Santal by Creed, which honestly I haven't smelled in a few years and I don't own a bottle, of course. And what's crazy is this fragrance actually came out before Original Santal, and the same perfumer it actually talks about in The Ghost Perfumer, which by the way is a phenomenal book if you're into like fragrance history, especially the house of Creed. You definitely have to dive into The Ghost Perfumer. It talks all about Pierre Bourdon and everything about the history. And also what's crazy is Original Santal runs for like $400, $500 plus. This one is $20. So it's like what, 2% of the price of the Original Santal. And what I heard is they smell exactly identical. So with all that information out of the way, let's go ahead and look at the packaging and presentation that you will get with Individuel now. So take a look at the box. Honestly, it's a very generic designer Mont Blanc box. Nothing really going on. It does have this kind of nice silver touch with this embossed, I think, Mont Blanc star right there, or the mountain. Nothing on the top, nothing on the sides, but on the back it says made in France with some information. Then on the bottom you will have your barcode and batch code to authenticate your product and see when it was produced. Let's look at the bottle now. So take a look at this bottle. I do have to say it does have this very nice kind of sleek design. Obviously the Mont Blanc Individuel. On the top you have that Mont Blanc mountain logo, which I love, and you obviously see those from the pins. And like I said, it has a very sleek kind of narrow vibe about it. On the bottom you do have your sticker with some of your information as well. Nothing inside the cap. The cap does feel, it might actually be metal to be honest with you. It does have a nice heft to it, and then the atomizer. All in all though, I cannot complain about the bottle's design. The top you have lavender, cinnamon, pineapple, juniper berries, mint, bergamot, rosemary, cardamom, and coriander. In the middle you have orange blossom, violet, geranium, and jasmine. And in the base you have raspberry, vanilla, sandalwood, dark chocolate, musk, amber, patchouli, vetiver, and oak moss. Now this fragrance will be classified as a sweet fruity, so let's go and spray this one and test out the atomizer with Individuel. Very generic atomizer, it's not pressurized, and it sprays a little bit of juice on a very narrow mist. So looking at that note breakdown, you're gonna be expecting something complex, and complex is not what you get with this fragrance, even though there is a ton of notes listed. So let's go and remind myself of this opening now. So once you spray this one, you're gonna wanna let it sit for maybe a couple seconds or so, because you just get an alcohol blast right off the bat. So yeah, let it kind of dry out and air down a moment before actually smelling it. But in that opening, guys, it comes across so synthetic, very synthetic in fact. Honestly, probably one of the most synthetic smelling fragrances I've smelled and especially own in my collection. Now, at the end of the day, synthetics are not a bad thing. Every fragrance actually contains synthetic notes along with naturals. Synthetics actually usually boost the performance. Because if you have a fragrance of all naturals, the performance is not gonna be good at all. So that's what synthetics are used for. And a lot of times synthetics can smell very good if they're actually done well, so to say. But yeah, that top is so fruity, very like almost sickeningly sweet. Honestly, kind of puts me off, and extremely soapy, kind of like laundry detergent or dryer sheets. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting from the top at least. And I also do get a slight green kind of minty nuance, which is coming from either that mint or that rosemary. I think honestly I'm getting more rosemary to my nose, but obviously you get that pineapple. But to be honest with you, that pineapple is not the star of the show. Even though it's listed in the top, you mostly get a raspberry. Yeah, just a lot of like red berry nuances from that raspberry note. And trust me, I love raspberry when it's done right, like in Tom Ford's Tuscan Leather, a very natural smelling fresh raspberry. This one just smells like raspberry candies or something like that. And it's weird because that raspberry is actually listed in the base, even though I honestly get it from the top, mid, and even in the dry down. It lasts the entire life of the fragrance. That lavender note is definitely there as well, working alongside that raspberry, gives it a nice aromatic touch, which is honestly the best part about the opening is that lavender note. A little bit powdery, but that's where we make our way into the mid with all of those florals. The violet definitely sticks out, a slight jasmine, but all in all, the mid is just so powdery, guys, like extremely powdery from the florals, especially the white florals. Honestly, I just cannot get down with the top and the mid of this fragrance. The top, like I said, extremely sweet, fruity. The mid is overly powdery from the florals. But thankfully, this being an eau de toilette, of course, not that potent of like perfume oils, that top and the mid honestly do not last that long. So it does have that going for it. For me at least, you guys might love the top and the mid of this, especially if you love fruity, kind of sweet fragrances. This is all for you all day long. Me, however, not the biggest fan of fruity fragrances on myself. I much prefer fruity fragrances on like a female than for me wearing them. At least the ones that are sickeningly fruity. But honestly, it's not all bad because once you make your way into the base is honestly the best part about the entire composition of Individual, because in the base, you're left with a very kind of creamy vanilla and sandalwood. A lot of sandalwood actually, because obviously this is very similar to Original Santal from Crean, which has a ton of sandalwood itself. So yeah, you get a big burst of sandalwood and vanilla, but also what makes this very nice is that bitter dark chocolate note. Extremely bitter. It's also a little bit powdery as well, which does work along with those florals, but the florals aren't really there once you make your way into the base. What is still there though is that raspberry note. It's almost like dark chocolate covered raspberry that I get along with the creaminess from the vanilla and that sandalwood. At least you're stuck with the base for the majority of the wearing of the fragrance. So once you get past, if you can stick through that top and the mid and wait for yourself to get into the base of it, you're good to go. Let's touch on the best seasons and occasions to wear Individual. Now for me, I think it's most suited for the fall, winter, and spring. Not so much the summer because you don't get any kind of like citruses, no aquatic notes, nothing like that. And if you wear this one in the high heat, it's gonna choke you out. It's gonna be so sickeningly sweet, like I said, and just so cloying on skin. So stick to the colder months and possibly like a spring evening is the best for it. Now for occasions though, this is 1000% a casual targeted fragrance. Nothing luxurious, nothing upscale, nothing formal about it whatsoever. This is the kind of fragrance you wear if you're throwing on a hoodie, you're going out running errands, you're going out maybe hanging out with the boys, something like that is what this is suited for. That leads us into the gender and age groups for this fragrance. Now this is definitely a male targeted fragrance. Even though it is overly sweet and fruity, it definitely does still have a slight masculine vibe about it. There's nothing really feminine smelling about this fragrance. It's just a very fruity, sweet, male targeted creation. So yeah, definitely on the male side. Now for age groups though, however, this is so youthful. Because of how like juvenile, how playful this fragrance comes across, I would say this is a perfect fragrance for any teenager that is either in like middle school or high school even. This is just perfect for that kind of person, because especially at the price you can get it, I think it will work perfect for a teenager. And obviously it does have that juvenile, playful vibe about it. It's not mature. I cannot see a grown man wearing this one, like a CEO dressing up in its 30s. This does not suit that kind of person whatsoever. But I do want to mention though, just because what I say this is best suited for doesn't mean you can't still wear this if you're 40 years old. You can wear whatever you want. Just in my head and what I'm picturing is definitely a teenager targeted fragrance. If you're a teenager watching this one and you're looking for a cheap fragrance to wear to like school and stuff that will get you compliments for sure, I can totally see women loving this fragrance. You might want to check out Individual, especially if you only have like 20 bucks to spend. You cannot go wrong with this one. Wrapping things off with the performance. Honestly, the performance shocked me because of the concentration. Obviously being an EDT, you're not going to expect the fragrance to last long. However, this one being so synthetic, it actually boosts the performance a lot. And I easily get above average longevity, which means above 8 hours of longevity is how I kind of calculate that. Below 8 hours would be below average, 8 hours would be average, above that is above average. So I get around maybe 10 hours of longevity on skin, which is just shocking. It's just another good point about this fragrance. So just because there is a lot of negatives about Individuel, it's not all bad with that base, which is done pretty good. The performance is very good, especially for the price. You just cannot go wrong with that. So like I said, if you're looking for a cheap fragrance that will get you all day long longevity and push off the skin pretty nicely, you have to check out Individuel. Even though it is a synthetic balm, but if you're not looking for a natural, high quality, luxurious smelling fragrance and just performance and cheap, you can't beat this one. So that's gonna do it for my review of Mont Blanc's Individuel. Let me know down below if you've actually had the chance to smell this one, if you picked up a bottle, if you are thinking about picking up a bottle because you've seen it at like your local rack store, just leave a comment down below and we'll discuss that. But as always, leave a like on the video if you did enjoy it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see all of you guys here in my next fragrance video. Take care, everybody.